Part 2. Chapter 11. Reflections. Sitting in my cell, I reflect on the path that led me here. Each memory is a vivid tableau, painted with the emotions and sensations that only those who have crossed the line between life and death can understand. The thrill of the hunt, the satisfaction of the kill, and the game with heart. All of these experiences are my legacy, my mark on the world. It's a strange thing, this reflection. It feels almost clinical, like I'm dissecting someone else's life, someone else's decisions. But it's all mine. I made each choice with precision, each step calculated to bring me to this moment. And now, with the end approaching, I find a peculiar sense of peace in it. Chapter 12. The early years. Before Julia, before the darkness took hold, there was a boy, just a boy, growing up in a world that never understood him. My parents were distant, my siblings indifferent. I learned early on that the only way to get attention was through control, through fear. I remember the first time I hurt someone. It was a classmate, a bully who had tormented me for weeks. I lured him into the woods behind our school and pushed him down a ravine. The look of terror in his eyes as he fell was intoxicating. He survived, but the power I felt in that moment was something I would chase for the rest of my life. It wasn't long before small acts of cruelty turned into something more. Animals first, then people. Each act a test, a way to refine my skills, to perfect the art of killing. By the time I reached adulthood, I was ready. Ready for Julia, ready for Claire, ready for all of them. Chapter 13. The method. Each kill had its own rhythm, its own unique choreography. I studied my victims carefully, learning their habits, their vulnerabilities. It was like a dance, each step leading inevitably to the final, fatal act. The preparation was as thrilling as the execution, the anticipation building with each passing day. I left nothing to chance. The choice of weapon, the location, the time, all meticulously planned. And always, I left a signature, a small mark that only Hart would understand. It was a way of communicating with him, of telling him that he would never truly catch me. But I underestimated him. Vanessa was my mistake, my hubris. I thought I could control her, bend her to my will like the others. But she fought back, and in that struggle, she sealed my fate. Chapter 14. The interrogation. Hart was relentless in his pursuit. He visited me often in those early days, trying to understand, trying to break me. But he never did. Our conversations were a game, a battle of wits where the stakes were my life and his sanity. Why did you do it? He asked, his voice filled with frustration. Why not? I replied, my smile mocking his earnestness. The world is full of sheep, Hart. I simply chose to be the wolf. He stared at me, searching for some hint of remorse, some sign of regret, but there was none. I did what I did because I wanted to, because I could, and in that, I found my freedom. You'll never understand, I told him, leaning back in my chair. You're too much a part of the system, too constrained by rules and morality. But me, I was free. Chapter 15. The trial. The trial was a spectacle, a media circus that fed on the horror of my actions. Reporters clamored for every detail, every lurid fact. The public watched with morbid fascination, unable to look away. My lawyer tried to plead insanity, but I refused. I was not insane. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I did it with full awareness of the consequences. The jury saw that, saw the cold logic behind my actions, and they condemned me for it. The sentence was death, and I accepted it without protest. There was a certain symmetry to it, a poetic justice that appealed to my sense of order. I had taken lives, and now mine would be taken. The circle would be complete. Chapter 16. The waiting. The wait for execution is a peculiar kind of limbo. Time stretches and contracts, days blending into nights with no clear distinction. The other inmates avoid me, sensing the darkness that clings to me like a shroud. The guards are careful, their eyes always watching, always wary. In this waiting, I find time to reflect, to consider the impact of my actions. I don't regret what I did. Each kill was a statement, a declaration of my power, my control over life and death. But I do wonder about the future, about the legacy I leave behind. There will be others. I know that. My actions will inspire, will awaken the same darkness in those who are already teetering on the edge. And Hart? he will continue his quest, always searching for the next monster, the next shadow to chase. Chapter 17. The final interview. Hart came to see me one last time, just days before the execution. He looked tired, the weight of his job etched into the lines of his face. But there was a determination in his eyes, a fire that had not dimmed. Why, he asked, his voice soft, almost pleading. I need to understand. I considered his question, turning it over in my mind. Why? It was the question that had haunted him from the beginning, the question that had driven him to catch me. Because I could, I said finally. Because it gave me a sense of purpose, a reason to exist. In those moments, I felt alive in a way that nothing else could match. He shook his head, unable to comprehend. You could have done so much more with your life. You had potential, intelligence. Why waste it on this? I smiled, a slow, deliberate grin. Because, Hart, we all have our demons. Mine just happened to be stronger than most. He left without another word, and I watched him go, knowing that our dance was over. The game had ended, but the echoes of our battle would linger. Chapter 18. The Execution. The walk to the execution chamber is a solemn procession, a final journey that feels both surreal and inevitable. The guards are silent, their faces set in grim determination. They led me to the chamber, where the witnesses sit behind glass, watching with morbid fascination. I lie down on the table, feeling the cold metal against my skin. The straps are tightened, the IV inserted. The warden reads the sentence, his voice a distant echo in the sterile room. As the chemicals flow into my veins, I feel a strange sense of detachment. My life flashes before my eyes, each moment a vivid memory, each kill a masterpiece of death. I think of Julia, Claire, Vanessa, and all the others. They are with me, a part of me. Their faces a gallery of memories that I'll carry into the darkness. The room begins to blur, the voices fading into a distant hum, and as the darkness closes in, I find a peculiar sense of peace. The end is just the beginning, a new chapter in a story that will never truly end. For in the shadows, in the darkest corners of the human soul, there will always be a whisper, a flicker of the desire to kill. And that is my legacy, the mark I leave on this world. The game will continue. Epilogue. The legacy continues. Detective Hart stood by the grave, the wind whipping through the trees, carrying with it the scent of decay. He looked down at the headstone, the name etched into the granite, David Marcus, the Phantom. Hart had thought that capturing Marcus would bring him closure, a sense of peace. But as he stood there, he realized that the darkness Marcus had unleashed was far from over. There would be others, inspired by his deeds, driven by the same need for control, for power. And so, Hart vowed to continue the fight, to chase the shadows, to hunt the monsters that lurked in the dark corners of the world. It was a never-ending battle, but it was one he was determined to fight. As he walked away, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it a promise, a warning. The game will continue.
Share your thoughts below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can check out more videos like these right now.